They're glorious. Let's get to work. Welcome to the very first episode of Led by Pixels, the show where you ask the questions and we deliver a sketchy response. Think of it as our way of keeping in touch, saying thanks, and embracing our favorite pastime together, because you guys are freaking awesome. Today's query comes from Twitter's @HatMinecrafter, who asks, what is Dog's favorite Nintendo Entertainment System game? Now, I think this is a great question for our first episode. I don't know if you consider it a softball, but I think it'll draw an interesting picture. You know, for many pups like me, the Nintendo Entertainment System was the very beginning, the first gaming console truly nestled in over our wood-paneled TVs. I can still feel butterflies billow up from my belly and burn red in my doggy cheeks when I think about how such an inconspicuous little gray box could inspire so many fierce emotions back then. There we were, friends and family launching controllers gloriously above our heads or slamming them down to the cold concrete floor. When all that chalky controller dust finally settled, the NES had played out its admirable lifespan and we gaming folk were left with a massive library of over 800 titles to experience. Before we get to my favorite, let's talk about some of the games that I remember fondly. Let's kick it off with a little Moonlit Rendezvous. Ninja Gaiden was an important game to me. Its punishing difficulty had me well versed in wall jumps and timing enemy respawns. There are a bunch of great power-ups in this game too, but that final boss was always tooth-grindingly difficult to me. I don't know, what do you think? I consider it kind of a crash course in patience, getting me ready for other great action platformers like Sunsoft's Amazing Batman or Konami's original Castlevania series. I still like how many well-crafted platformers rewarded patience and skill back then, and we're starting to see that more today in all types of games. Actually, the platforming genre was arguably the flavor of the NES, so there was a more than modest buffet of tasty titles to scoop up. Capcom's licensed Disney games were great. Personally though, when it comes to Capcom platformers, I've always been a sucker for Mega Man. I remember having a particular passion for melting metal faces in Mega Man 4. It was the birth of the charge shot. It's funny how one little gameplay mechanic can heighten a gaming experience, and I loved it. I dug unique multiplayer experiences when I could, like Dr. Mario, which put its color-matching twist on the Tetris craze of the early 90s. I multiplayed whenever I could. I enjoyed game show wannabe Anticipation, which has this kind of weird Pictionary-esque style, but I think I enjoyed foam hopping with friends in the arcade port Bubble Bobble the most. There were a whole bunch of arcade titles that made for decent NES experiences. Geez, there was Rampage, Paperboy, Commando, Cabal, Gunsmoke, TMNT 2, I could just go on and on. Looking back, I never really took the time to play much in the way of racing or sports titles on the NES, but every now and then I'd stumble upon a copy of Blades of Steel. It's good, simple hockey fun. But if you were like me, you were always waiting for the halftime minigame. You know what I'm talking about. You know, I feel like the Nintendo Entertainment System was an all-encompassing we have a game for that machine in a way that no other gaming console has ever been. To be honest, I haven't powered on that weathered plastic icon in a while. And though I have very fond memories of all the games I've mentioned, I haven't touched most of the titles I've listed in some time. But I would never leave you guys hanging. There's one title that I come back to a few times a year, and nowadays when I see it pop up on new hardware, I just shake my head and toss a few digital bucks into an invisible bucket. It's kind of a cliche, and maybe you'll consider it entirely underwhelming. Actually, I avoided talking about some of the NES's bigger titles for ambiguity's sake here. So, here's what I'll do. I'll start sketching. You guys call it out when you think you've got the answer, you smart internet people, you. Nice and loud, too, so you look like a dummy. Nope, not the third, not the second, though I really do love both. The first Super Mario Bros. Is my all-time favorite Nintendo Entertainment System game. It's the first video game I ever remember playing. It's the game that taught me how to play and care about video games. It calloused my paws, it showed me the basic rules of my favorite artistic medium, and more importantly, it showed me that it was fun and beneficial to break the rules too. The NES was powerful, man. It was a babysitter on long, sugar-sweet summer days, a proving ground for tenuous kid hierarchies, often a parent's late-night disdain. The NES was a deliverer of macrocosms. To us, the levels never ended. The stories were bigger than anything we mumbled through in English class, and you could go left in level 1-1. Tony's uncle, who works for both Sega and Nintendo, showed my best friend how to do it right after he showed VHS gameplay The Legend of Ganon. It's like coming out for the Nintendo 2000 in a couple of years, I swear. No, seriously. Thanks for the question. Assistant bot, you know what to do. Mail out that sketch. Do you have a gaming topic or genre you want me to etch my way through? Well, go ahead and send your question to @itsassistantbot. He's eager to turn your suggestions into ones and zeros. Not literally, though. He's better with parcels than binary.